So Metropolis is pretty unique, and not necessarily in a good way, depending on who you ask, because it is the only zone that has 3 acts. From what I gather, it's partly because of the development cycle of this game. They basically they basically had to include another zone, so they just kind of merged it into Metropolis. At least that's kind of my recollection of what the situation was. But I actually don't fully remember. I almost got crushed here. I actually almost never go this way, so I didn't even know those obstacles were there. So far so good. We haven't had too many problems, but again, this is like a difficulty spike. And that's kind of the issue with Sonic 2, is it's very inconsistent. Like, you know, a lot of stages are like a couple minutes, 1 to 2 minutes, if you're not going for Chaos Emeralds. And then, like, Metropolis, you have 3 to 4 minute stages that, like, will just throw a ton of enemies and obstacles in your way, and it's just kind of, like, unexpected, I guess. Like, it's not even, like, I wouldn't even say it's as unreasonably difficult as I expected, but it's still not, like, balanced to the rest of the game, if that makes sense. Like, it's somehow easier than I thought it would be, considering how, like, hyped up the difficulty spike is, but it's still not like a good difficulty spike. So yeah, definitely not my favorite zone, but I almost do feel like, in a way, it's almost overhated. And again, maybe it's partly just because I've played like more modern versions like this, where they are a little bit easier because of like, wider field of view and other improvements. Not having finite lives and continues also helps, because if you game over in Sonic 2, you do have continues, but the level select is actually kind of annoying to access. You basically have to put in a very specific series of like inputs in you have to choose specific songs and sound effects in the sound test to actually access the level select. Sonic 1 was just like a D-pad input, and this collection actually changes it to a D-pad input as well to access the level select and the sound test. So again, that's actually one really nice change in Origins. It's not having to access the level select through the sound test first. This is like the worst part of Metropolis because of the starfish robots. Because if you get knocked down, because of the way the gears work in terms of respawning, you often have to back up ways to get everything to come back. I thought I was going to take damage there. I'm actually amazed I didn't. We should actually be getting close to the end. We were supposed to ride this platform, but I'm feeling impatient. So let's just fly over here to the boss. Another Dr. Robotnik mech. Basically, he has these little bubbles that will spawn little copies of his mech that are easy to pop. Every time we deal damage, one will drop down. Once we destroy all copies and deal one more hit, that should be the end of the fight. Overall, not an overly difficult fight, but a little bit annoying when the full ring is in place, because it's very easy to take damage. Also, I think he'll start attacking us now. It's still not a very difficult fight in general, though. I say as I've taken damage twice. And there we go. We are finally out of Metropolis Zone. And after Metropolis Zone, we actually get a little break. Sky Chase Zone is just a little chill auto-scroller. We have some enemies flying towards us. If you're playing as Sonic and Tails together, Tails will be flying the plane. It is Sonic's plane, canonically, but Tails kind of ends up being in charge of it, as is the case in almost every Sonic game since this. But yeah, it does say Sonic on the plane because it is his originally, and I do like the bit of continuity in the Sonic CD ending they added, where Sonic takes off in the plane to go to the island that Sonic 2 takes place on. Be careful about spin dashing and going too fast, because if you go too fast, the plane might not keep up with you. I'm not sure if that's a Mania issue or specifically a Sonic 2 issue, but I've definitely had issues with the plane in Mania, and since this is still the retro engine, I'm guessing some of the problems still apply here. We're about halfway through. The stage basically ends at a specific point. I've also seen clips of the Origins version where the stage does not end properly, so fingers crossed that that is not the case here, because it is a long auto-scroller and I would prefer not having to play it twice. We have a flying fortress that we'll be seeing a bit more of in a bit. Again, another little break in the action. I like how Tails yawns, because Sonic does like this foot tapping to show he's impatient, but Tails just kind of yawns, which is a nice little difference in the characterization of the two, without like having dialogue or anything. The sprite work in early Sonic games is actually really impressive for how much character is crammed into these animations. It is really impressive to this day. And I imagine the scrolling of like the clouds wasn't this smooth on actual hardware, but actually it looks really nice in this version at the very least. We should be getting to the end of the stage though in a few seconds. Alright, it's time for Wing Fortress Zone. I don't like this zone. I actually think I like this zone less than Metropolis. And it's not even because it's that bad, but because parts of it are just very annoying to me. And this has kind of, in the past, been the wall for me, where I lose the most lives, where I have to like use the level select, and so on. One big trick is these flames do not have a hitbox. For the longest time, I thought these would actually deal damage, so a lot of my deaths in this particular section were just because I thought I had to dodge the flames, so I'd fall into the pit instead. Knowing those do not deal damage, this actually isn't bad. But again, I just don't have the best memories of the stage because of struggling a lot in the past, partly because I didn't know things weren't hazardous or not. You know, traditionally, if you see fire, you'd think maybe I should avoid the fire, and yet that's actually not a problem in this stage. Also, the music is kind of not my favorite. Again, I like the soundtrack, but this particular song isn't the best. I'm not even sure what it is about it that I don't particularly care for. Oh yeah, one thing worth mentioning, and I think I brought this up in one of the previous games in the collection, some of the music is glitched, where for like the speed shoes, sometimes the music will play after the effect actually ends. So yeah, it just kind of like plays a little bit longer than it's supposed to. I'm not sure if that applies to the invincibility theme as well. So for these, you press the jump button to let go, like so. Now we're over here. This section is not great if you're playing as Sonic. If you're playing as Tails, it's actually not that bad, because you can fly. But basically we have these little platforms moving in and out of this side of the ship, so we have to carefully jump across. I'm going to do this without flight if possible. If I have to fly, I was ready to do so. This part's really mean. If you don't jump over that, you'll just kind of get stuck here, and it's very hard to break out of this without dying, in my opinion. Specifically in the original, I would fall into that pit a lot because I would jump too soon, because I wasn't sure how close I was to like the edge of the platform because of the speed at which you're going mixed with the 4:9 screen scaling. So again, things like that definitely make this version, in my opinion, a lot easier. With what, 95 rings, over here is our next boss fight. That was very well timed, actually, having the life up jingle as we enter the boss. It was very incongruous there. We have these little platforms. You're supposed to ride on top of them in order to get enough height to jump up and hit the laser. If you're playing on a version with Tails and him being able to fly, you can just fly up and hit the laser, which is a lot easier, like so. And with that, we are done with Wing Fortress. I was double checking if there's anything over here. I wasn't sure. Oh, there is an extra life here. We've now reached the final zone, the Death Egg Zone. Starting off, we have a fight with this Metal Sonic that is not Metal Sonic. A really good strategy is to spin dash and deal damage quickly. Obviously, when he's spiky, you can't deal damage. He'll also charge without rolling into a ball, where you can deal damage. Also, when the spikes are like shaking like that, you will take damage from that as well. He'll occasionally jump. He'll also launch spikes when he jumps at times. You might do that now, actually. Maybe not. I think it's only when he jumps, actually. I mean, if we were going to lose a life, I guess the final stage isn't a bad place to lose our first life. I think that was our first life, at least. I like how Eggman is watching this fight, or Robotnik. Again, I keep going back and forth, as someone who grew up with the 3D games. If you know what you're doing, this fight's actually really easy, like so. But obviously, it's not over yet. If we go over here, we have to chase Eggman, or Robotnik. Of course, it's not that easy. This is the Death Egg Robot. Probably one of the tougher final bosses in the series, and not for a good reason. It's actually a very easy fight, but we don't have rings. And also, it's annoying because if you take damage, you have to do the Metal Sonic fight over again. I'll keep calling it Metal Sonic, even though I think its name is like Silver Sonic or Mecha Sonic or something. It's a little bit confusing, I find, because there are like multiple robots with like multiple names throughout the series, and I can never like keep track of them all. This boss is unusual for taking 12 hits instead of the usual 8, making it a little bit tougher. The spikes on its arms will kill you, so I'm trying to be very careful. You can deal damage a lot more quickly than I am currently, but I am bad at this fight and I'm trying to take my time. I'd love to do this fight first try. I almost got hit by the arms because I forgot about that and was standing too close. But yeah, as long as you basically get Robotnik to land on the far side of the screen, it's not that bad of a fight. Just kind of be patient, take your time with it, and deal damage when you have a safe opportunity, unless you're, trying to speedrun it, in which case you definitely want to deal damage more quickly than I'm currently doing. But again, for an average playthrough, I would recommend, taking your time with it, like so. I think we might only need one more hit, or maybe another set. I've kind of lost track, but again, I'm pretty sure there's 12 hits in total. Yep, it looks like we have one more cycle to go. Yeah, you can deal damage if you dodge the spikes. The ones in the foreground and background both will hurt you, so be careful. So yeah, that's why I'm only going for hits when both arms are retracted, just because it's a lot safer. So I think we actually might only need one more hit, maybe a couple more. Again, I've kind of lost track. But overall, once you know what you're doing, this fight's not terrible, but it's definitely a wall because you have no rings. I could have gotten the last hit, but I definitely didn't want to take any chances, because I don't want to lose at the very end of this fight. The one downside of playing Tails is that if you're playing as Sonic, either with Sonic alone or with Tails, there's actual ending images showing Tails like getting the plane ready and coming to save Sonic. If you're playing as Tails, you just have a long shot of Tails falling, and that's not nearly as cool. Overall, I still really like this game. Again, having played through this game for the collection, I think this might be my favorite 2D Sonic game. It is definitely flawed because of, again, how rushed the ending feels and just how unpolished like Metropolis and even Oil Ocean to some extent feel compared to the early stages. But I think it is the Sonic game I most consistently enjoy, especially when I don't have to worry about like limited lives and continues and things like that. It was actually a lot of fun going through this game. Also, Mark Cerny, who would go on to work at PlayStation and help design the PS4 and PS5, yeah, he started at the Sega Technical Institute. I think he also worked on the Crash games as well after leaving Sega. But anyway, this game is definitely hasn't aged well because of the inconsistent difficulty scaling. Again, it's definitely a game that if you kind of understand what you're doing, it's a lot more enjoyable because you know how to like dodge obstacles and, you know, circumvent some of the game's limitations, which isn't necessarily an excuse for the game's problems, because the game definitely still has problems. But again, as the Sonic game I'm probably most familiar with, it's the game I can most consistently play through. Even the games I think are objectively better, I don't think I enjoy as much, partly just because I played this game so much that I am really used to all the weird intricacies of playing through it. It's also nice being able to actually get all the emeralds finally, because of Tails' flight in this version, and also the ability to retry special stages without, you know, having to gather an extra 50 rings and everything, because again, you keep your rings after special stages, which is really nice in this version. So overall, I do think this is probably my favorite version. It's definitely got some issues, as does every game in this collection, but I still really enjoyed this a lot. We still have one more game on this collection to go through, and we'll be taking a break from Sonic games for a little bit, but we'll get to Sonic 3 Knuckles at some point. But with that being said, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more for a new playthrough